up a bit. Active record association. So last part of active record for mod 1. We'll go into associations, the whole relationship stuff that we've been doing the whole first 2 weeks. And our SWOBOTs are to explain how active record works for non-related models. We actually did this yesterday. So it's just going to be like, oh, we'll build a few more models, and then we're going to connect it. So we're going to implement a one-to-many relationship in active record. Then we're going to implement a many-to-many. And then we'll describe like how these special things, this has many through, this special syntax, cuts out a bunch of code for us. And then we'll just like look at documentation and write some stuff. So like we're going to go over active record, do some more migrations because we have to build out some more models for relationships. We will also finally seed some data using Faker. So this will be fun. We get to use Faker today. And then we'll work with those methods and those custom macros. Sound good? Sound good? Awesome. So remember these steps again. We have the same files from last time. So we have the candy class. We have that costume class. And we have our migration files here for those two tables. All I did was just copy paste it over into a new project. But notice how I don't have the schema or the development file or the development database because I didn't copy it over. So if this was like a project you cloned down or something, and you are in this new project, you have these migration files but no database, and you want to just recreate that database, what would you do?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
So like, this was yesterday's work, right?
Yeah.
Where we made a database, it has a schema that we generated. We wrote our migration files, we wrote our models, our classes. Let's say we committed this to GitHub and smartly did not commit our development database up into GitHub. But now someone else, like I'm a new team member, I clone down this repository, but I don't have my own database. How can I like get that database for myself?
Email you for it.
I could get it from email actually, right? Because it's just a file.
Yeah.
I could just be like, hey, yo, email me your database file so I can put it here. That will work. But there is a better way of doing that.
Oh, yeah, right. Like, it's all right, but I'm wrong.
Yeah, so like you can run the migration, right? And how do we run migrations yesterday? Who remembers? Rake. It was something in Rake. So like the thing is you're not always going to memorize every command, but you should try to memorize the Rake task command so you can look up all the things you can do in Rake. And if we run Rake task, you'll see, oh, now I remember. I have all these like db something tasks that I can run. You will also remember to use bundle to install everything beforehand. So I'm going to install all my dependencies, look at my Rake tasks, and go, oh, which one do I need to use to like create that database? How I run my migrations? Which one would I use? Yeah, migrate. So you go, okay, I just cloned this down. I installed my dependencies. Let's run migrate. It looks like it completed successfully. And now I have my own development database. And I have an updated schema file pointing to, oh, all the migrations it ran, like with the timestamp. So this is why we have these.
You didn't have to create the migration first and then migrate?
Not yet, because like this is like the scenario of us cloning down someone else's project who has already done that.
Okay.
Where it's like, okay, we're now both going to work on this project. How do we have like the same database from like whatever's on GitHub? So we'll clone this down, rerun rake db migrate, and now get our own development database. While my partner can have their own development database. And we can work on the same project, but not like touch each other's database. So we have this, we now recreated it. We have that gem lock again. We have this schema.rb. It should be good because the stuff you commit should be good.
So if you're both working
Oh. So like right now, this development database is on my computer. Let's pretend this is person 2, Jeff, and this is actually on his computer. When I update things in my development.sqlite, it will not touch his database because it's on his computer.
You see it like a merge conflict?
But do you actually want to merge that? Like if you like add a new row of data, do you want to push it up and share it while you're just working on new features and developing?
Well, you do it after you're done, right?
Maybe after you're done, but there's another way to do that with your seed file. But for like actual development purposes, a lot of the stuff in your development database is test data. You're just like making things like name A, costume A, candy B, and you actually don't want to save that anywhere. It's not like production data or anything. So this is,
I'm sorry, so production data that would be like just, like if you have a Facebook would be at your actual Facebook users, but like at Facebook, they'll have a test database for the fake users to kind of play with it and not really harm the content that's supposed to be
yes.
legit, I guess.
So this is actually why, so if we go back to this environment.rb file, why we call this development. In the future, your environment file is going to be much more complex. And it'll be generated by a framework. And they will usually define like multiple types of databases that you can switch based on some sort of command line flag or an environment variable. Where you go, okay, I'm a developer, I'm just working on features. I'm going to use the development database. If you're a QA person and you're testing like the stuff your developers have just built, you'll be on the test database.
Can you explain QA?
QA is quality assurance, and it is those people who love to break your code and like destroy everything you've built and say, point out everything you've done wrong, and then send it back to you and say, go fix it.
QA people are just mean.
No, I was in QA. We were not mean. QA are nice people. We just have a very different hobby in code.
Being mean.
Of being mean, I guess, where we like to like find all the errors, like because you will write your own tests, and we'll do that next week, but you won't think of every possible thing, and you won't also be testing like integration points between like front end, back end, and stuff. So like
That's
maybe
QA
you,
job.
yeah, that's like QA's job, where they're like, okay, you have it reasonably been working, you tested it for whatever cases you thought of, in maybe even like connecting the whole app, but QA is gonna look at that and be like, but what about this flag? What about this flag? What if I do this? What if I purposely try to hack your thing and like break it?
Wow.
They will like do other stuff, especially like performance testing. They will like hammer, like maybe you wrote a method that has a loop and a loop and a loop. They'll be like, I wonder how fast this runs if you have this much data. And it suddenly slows down a lot. They'll like, make that faster. Right? So that's like QA's job, to test things like at all points in your system. And then tell you to fix it, because we're not going to fix it. So we have development, test, and then you'll usually also have your production database. And this one is only on your production server. You are not going to touch that thing. Otherwise, DevOps will hate you because you just like directly touched what's like actually live on your website. All your work will be in development on like a local development database. And maybe sometimes you'll copy data from production in there, but generally you don't really need to do that too much.
So it's development like your local.
Yep, it's like your local one. You will eventually run something called Postgres locally. We have this installed already. It's another type of database. You'll just connect to it, and you'll notice that I have like other databases in here for other like things we've built out in other classes. And they're all just test stuff. They're all development databases. And why is this thing that's weird. But you'll have more than one, and you'll be able to flip a flag. So DevOps, when they deploy to production, they'll purposely like flip it to use the production database with like the production database like settings. Sound good? Makes sense why we now clone down and like have to remigrate to create our own database. Nice. All right. So we've created a database. We have our model.
So when we push up, how do we avoid pushing up our database?
Yeah. So do I actually have one? I do not have a git ignore. So I'm going to make a new file called .git. What?
That's already grayed out.
Yeah, I don't know why it's already grayed out. It should not be. That's why I was just like, do I have one? But no, I don't.
Where's Lawrence?
You will have a file called .gitignore. So this popped up last time, right? Inside of this, you'll tell it what not to push up into GitHub. You'll be like, what, everything that ends in SQLite, don't push those up. It should not have been grayed out already. I think this is an Atom thing, but the second you add it,
So Atom has like a default ignore list.
oh, it does? All right, that's why. But if you go like, oh, don't push up my gem file for some reason, and you save it, it will like not push up your gem file. Right now, I already have it pushed, but that won't work. But if you tell it to like not push up certain files, you can do that. And you can just write them in a long list here. You'll see like an auto-generated git.gitignore from Rails when you get there.
Can you make it ignore an entire directory? Or?
So I could be like, ignore the database directory, I believe. And it might be able to ignore the entire database. I forgot the exact syntax because I don't really write these. I just use the ones that are given to me.
Whatever.
I know on
Yep.
GitHub they have like entire pages where people are like, oh, this is mine, just copy and paste this whole thing.
Mhm.
This is what
Or
I
they
do.
control you.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't blindly copy paste because like through the use of JavaScript, you could think you're copy pasting a line of text, but JavaScript, when you hit Control-C, will inject like code, like text in there. So when you're copy pasting, you're actually copy pasting something different. That's like a trick someone put on like a website many years ago. So don't blindly copy paste. Read it and like maybe even retype it if you want, or double check when you do copy paste. But this is what gitignore does, and it's why like this won't go up to GitHub when you do git. When you do git add dot. Yeah, git status. So I have my gitignore, gemlock. Yeah, if I do this and add this, it's not going to be in that list. It's going to be like, don't commit this thing. So I'm going to leave this out for now and look at this. Yeah, I think it's like automatically ignored based on Atom.
Yeah, Atom like ignores like hidden files and a bunch of other things.
Yeah. So that's how you do it, and that's how you're going to protect yourself. And we'll actually do a little bit more of that next week. So I'll show you how to hide your like API keys when you do your Mod 1 project.
Pretty true.
Yes, don't commit your API keys. Any other questions on like why we have to remigrate, why we have different types of databases, like development, test, production? No? Awesome. All right. So we have our model from yesterday, candy and costume. We need to build out some sort of relationship. So I need some sort of one-to-many to build out on. We have candy, costume. I don't think these are related in any way.
Trick-or-treater.
Oh, maybe? No, wait. But it wouldn't really be like the relationship between a candy and a costume, though, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, there aren't like. Yeah, you're right.
We have Halloween store.
A Halloween store could have.
Candy.
Halloween party. Story is over.
Okay, we'll do that one. Well, wait. Trick or treater wearing costume. So trick or treater has many costumes. Costumes can be worn by many. No way. We're not jumping to many yet. I need a one too many. We can add tables or build another 2 tables or something, but I need a one to many, not a many to many yet. Any ideas?
Candy bag.
Candy bag? Ooh. A candy bag can have many candies. Many.
One costume that's
One costume.
Wait, where did costume come into this?
that would have to come through the actual purchase.
Hmm.
Unless you do like many, like one ghost, like the idea of a ghost, many people for ghosts.
Maybe we switch back. We switch back to
Not the
cats.
costume physically itself.
Could
just
switch
like
back
a
to
name
cats.
costume.
Hold on, let me think.
Why do you say candy bag?
Candy bag?
What about a house?
How are you gonna relate candy back to costume?
Well, we don't need to relate all of them.
Oh, you don't?
I just
Oh,
need
candy
one,
bag.
so one candy bag. So a candy bag has many candies, and then a candy belongs to a candy bag. Does that make sense? All right, we're gonna do candy bag, and if we're going to make a new model, a new table for candy bag, what do we need to do first? Yeah, create the model. So if we're gonna create a model, we'll create a file, right? And it will be called what? Candybag.rb. How do we spell it?
Do you want the camel case or underscore?
That's a good question. Which one is it?
Snake.
Snake case? So candy bag, snake case, .rb. So yeah, it'll be snake case like this. If it's like 2 words, Ruby, the general convention is like put that underscore there where the space should be. So it'll be candybag.rb. Meanwhile, the class will be called candybag like this. And am I done yet?
Here it's inherit from the active record.
Yeah, I need to inherit from active record base. Record base like this. So I can get all the active record like methods and stuff.
Quick question. In one of the exercises, it was in trading from active record like 5.1 or something like that.
Oh.
It's like later stuff.
It's because active record has different versions, and sometimes the lab is like, this lab was built exactly for this version, and if you jump ahead to a different version, maybe something will break. So they're purposely like versioning it. I think you'll see that specifically in, where is it? Your migration file. Because the migrations are usually actually built for a specific version, kind of like with this up-down thing I explained yesterday. Like if you're on an old one, it won't know what to do with change because it doesn't exist yet. So that's why they have that number sometimes. So we have our class done. What do we do next?
Create a migration.
Yeah, we create a migration. How do we create a migration? Yeah, and if you can't remember, it's okay to just keep looking at this until you kind of like sink in. We'll do rake db create migration like this. But then we have to name it, right? It'll be like, hold up, right? It's so helpful. Rails, not Rails, Ruby is very helpful, and Rails is too. And then you'll get to JavaScript and you're like, so what will we call this migration?
Create candy bags.
Create candy bags with an S, because all of our tables are going to be the pluralized version of the model.
You sure it's bags?
Not 100% sure, so let's test that. So candy bag pluralize. Yes, it is sane.
I was really worried like candy snacks.
Oh, how do you think it pluralizes Beanie Baby?
What do you say?
How would you spell Beanie Baby? 1 word or 2 words?
To like bean with an IE.
So like Beanie Baby, right?
Yeah, would it be Beanie Babies?
There you go.
Beanie Babies, yeah. This one's actually sane. If it's like that, I think. Okay, it's fine. I think it was like, it just sounded weird the first time I did this, Beanie Babies. And I was like, what is going on? It's because the other class wanted me to do this, like, in my, like, what, 7th week or something? 6th week here? And they were like, let's build Beanie Babies. I'm like, okay. Let's see. This is fine. We made this migration. I'm going to close this for a second so we can look at it. We're going to make a table, right? And if you can't remember, you will just look at the documentation and just be like, let's look at this again. We remember it says create table, create table. If I can spell, oh god, create table. It will tell us, you need to tell it the table name. So it's, what is it? Candy bags. It will do something with it. It will take in T as the argument for table. In this block, we tell it what columns to make, right? So what columns do we want in our candy bags table? Candy type. Anything else?
Wait, is that going? I think we would have candy ID.
Yeah, so like this is like I'm trying to get people to think of the ID, right? It's like where does the like candy ID go, right? We said back in our README over here, we have this one-to-many. Over here, a candy bag has many candies, and a candy belongs to a candy bag, right? Which one of these needs the ID of the other one? So candy bag, who says candy bag needs a candy ID? Who says this? Who says the candy needs a candy bag ID? For everyone, so since everyone rose their hand for this one, why? Because the candy bag has an ID. Wait, but why do we put it in the candy table?
The candy belongs.
Yeah, you're making that association. It belongs to, right? Because I said like, if it belongs to something else, it's going to have the idea of that other thing in it. And this is just like remembering how to draw that chart and figuring out what belongs to what.
Isn't it also because if you did it the opposite way, like the table would keep building out with ID, like rows of IDs, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, kind of like that, right? Like, because if we had a candy bag table with like, I don't know, a name or something, and then it had the candy ID in here, the bag has a lot of candies. This looked like, what, like an array or something, right? Or like multiple rows. This doesn't make sense. So you can't actually put the ID in the candy bag. It's going to be the other way around. And this is why like we kept practicing this in the first 2 weeks. Like where that ID belongs, where that instance belongs. So this candy will have the candy bag ID. Right now it doesn't, so we're gonna have to add that later. And we're gonna do that in a separate migration. But first we're gonna build out the candy table, the candy bag table. We do need some sort of column in here for, what is the property of a candy bag? Size, color. All right, good enough. So we're going to make a size and color column. T is the table. It has the methods for the type of column in it. What is size? What type of column? Integer? How about color? Text, string. So T dot text or string. So string, I don't know. It could also be text. It could also be a lot of other things. But we'll do it this way, so it's simple.
Do we not have to add ID because it's using active record?
Yep, active record is putting that ID for you. And in general, like every database has an ID column. So every table has an ID column in a database. So it's a very common convention. That's why you're not gonna have to do it yourself. So if we run our migration next, right? Because the next step is to run that migration. If you forget, you can just check and go, okay, I need to run that migration. It is rake db migrate. I will run this now. Looks like it worked. What do I do next? Yeah, check that schema, right? So open up that schema file. Make sure that it now looks like what your database should look like, We have now our candy bags table with size and color. Looks good. But we said, okay, we had a one-to-many. We need to now add the candy bag ID to the candy table. Because we've now like built up our relationship. We need to do what next?
Create a migration.
Yeah, create like a new migration. But before that, you probably should have tested, right? Should have tested. I'm not going to test yet because I know it's fine. It should work. But let's actually create a new migration. So rake, create migration. So what would you call this migration? Add candy bag ID, candies, anything else? Create candies. What are we changing? Exactly what are we doing? We're adding a column. So I would probably name it add column. And then what after this? Yeah, like candy bag, bag ID 2, like candies or something, right? But like it's long. But the thing is, like, if you read this and you actually look at your migration, your list of migrations, you're like, I did this. Oh, look, it's super long, but it actually makes sense. I'm adding a column. I know exactly what this is doing. And you'll have your own naming convention for this. You will probably be lazy in the beginning and make it very short, which is fine. But at some point, you will want to like make it so that other people can read it and go, okay, I know what to do. If we want to add a column, how do you do that? Yeah, it's like an alter thing, and it's like add column. No one here has seen that syntax, right? Because I don't think I've released. Have I really? I have released that lab, but it's like way later. If you don't know, just Google it. Active record, add a column, right? And it's okay to just Google. So if I look at this, first hit is the same exact page as this. Great. So add column, column, changing columns. So there's changing column modifiers. Let's see if changing columns has it. No, this is actually changing them. Oh wait, is it adds right here? Add. Adds foreign key. And it looks like it's not helping me. Oh no, there is an add column. Like the remove column and add column. Where is this thing? There we go. So just Google and keep searching and read.
Bookmark.
And then bookmark things. And then you'll be like, okay, this is how I add a column. So let's try this. And go, okay, add column. How does this add column work? It looks like it's taking in the user table, the table name. Because like if you read this doc, it's been building up on this example with like products and users. So it's like, okay, the table name. So I'm adding it to the candies table.
Well, it's the target.
Yep. So it's like column, add column, which table. This looks like the name of the column, right? Well, this looks like the type. So the name of the column is what?
Candy underscore.
Yeah, it's like candy underscore bag underscore ID, right? We're adding this ID to this table. And it's of what type? Integer, right? Because those are all IDs, they're all numbers. And this is all we're doing, we're just adding a column. If I then finish writing my migration, I run my migration, right? So rake db migrate. Should this work?
Check the schema.
Yeah, we should check the schema after it. And I'm gonna see if it works. Hopefully it does. It looks like I did it right. So usually I screwed this up at some point, but it worked. It actually added the column correctly this time. And if I check this schema now, I'll be like, okay, I'm expecting this ID to be on this table. It's there. And it's like on the latest migration. So nice, it worked. I set up my one-to-many. And now if I look at my data, so like if I actually look at this data, I have nothing in this database, I think. So, database development. I should have nothing right now for test data. So candies, it has that ID. Candy bags, yes, empty. So good. Now I can like test, right? I checked my schema, I can test. And before yesterday, what was I doing to test? I was just like entering the console and creating stuff, right? If you want to test in a easier way, that is like where you don't have to manually create tons of data.
Good question. So you can only view the changes in the database like viewer after you run that migration. That's when it happens.
Yeah, it will update after you run this migration. If you check this before you ran it, it won't have that column yet. Like if I actually go do rake db rollback to go back a step to get rid of that column, and I look at this, candy, no, I have to close this and open it again. If I look at candies, it will lose that column. It's not there yet. So once you run that migration, then it shows up.
Is there a reason why you have to close and open different columns, but like when you start putting data in, you don't have to close and open?
I actually don't know all the specifics about SQLite browser. I don't know why it's not updating columns like that. Data, I know it definitely like live updates. I don't know why the columns don't. It's kind of weird. Actually, no. It's probably because I have to do that. I never noticed this button. It's a refresh button. This is why. You have to hit the refresh button. It's been like 5 years since I've used this, and I've never actually noticed this button. I've just been closing and reopening. Oh, I'm the worst programmer in the world.
The interface does look like it's been recorded a long time ago.
Yeah, this is actually super old. It's like
It's like on the one go, like older version.
it like also like doesn't really scale well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
When
look
you-
how you can't get smaller than
when
this.
you try to like when you try to like compress it on like one half of the screen, like the
It's
table
like come
doesn't-
on, no. I can try to do it, but it won't. It's because it's old.
What are you just supposed to do that?
Oh, I have something called Spectacle installed.
Yeah, I have it also.
And
This program.
Spectacle does that?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
put it on Windows and make it on command.
There is a
That's much better.
there are hotkeys for Spectacle. What it does is allow you to do Command Option and then well, if I do it on something like this,
Yeah.
on like Atom, the right arrow will show it to the right. If I keep hitting right, it'll like resize it in 3 different ways.
You do up
And then left will be on the left, up and down will be like this, and then F would be full screen. So I find it very useful in this environment.
When we're updating the column, you put candy bag ID and integer. Does it have to be in that order?
Yes, because that method, all this is actually just a method. And you remember how like Ruby lets you take away the like parens and stuff? It's really like just a method like this that's expecting the arguments in exactly this order.
So if you're adding 2 columns, would you do candy bag ID integer and then candies?
Ah,
Second,
so like this, like another one.
yeah, then we would start over from candies and then the next column and then integer.
Actually, if you think about it, since it's a method, remember you can run methods multiple times. You can just be like, I need more columns, and make lots of columns this way. You don't. It won't be like. It's like to keep code readable. If you want to add 1 column, they're just gonna make you do it on 1 line. They didn't make this super flexible where you can go lots of columns in 1 method, because then people will have to scan all the way across to see how many columns you're making. It's easier to go add column, add column, add column, add
You
column.
do like 10 times 2.
Well, you would have to change the column names, right? You can't have duplicate column names. You can't just be like times do add column, right? And add like 10 candy bag ID columns. This will not work. it will be like, why are you trying to add 10 candy bag ID
You
columns?
can probably force the part, like the argument to self-increment maybe by one.
Yeah, you could like create your own symbols and make dynamic column. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Just do it in like a nice readable way.
Going back just rolls back to the last migration.
Yep.
We specified for 2 ago.
If you want to go to rake db rollback, if you want to go do 2 of them, all you do is run rollback twice.
You can't just roll back only from 2 ago and keep your most recent.
No, you have to like actually.
That's why you test every time to make sure so you don't.
Yep.
And you're like way later and have to roll back.
Yes.
5 times.
Can you do 10 times the rollback?
Yes. You could like, because it is just Ruby, right? Rake is just a Ruby task. It's just Ruby code, so you can do it. I'm not going to do that. But if you need to roll back that much, generally you won't roll back past the last commit. Like, I won't go roll back this
Actually,
because someone has already committed this code to GitHub, and you like everyone's using that. You don't want to like roll all the way back, change something in this migration, and then everyone's gonna be like, "Why did you do that?" Just add a new migration to fix it. So migration is supposed to be like step-by-step changes. And if someone screwed up way back then and everyone has that same screw-up thing, you have to add a migration to fix it. Make db migrate. So now I have everything back. Yay. Any other questions on that? No? We're going to test this now by making seed data. Who has heard of the word seed data? Nice. Where'd you hear it? Here, right? In a lab probably, right? Or in like one of these lectures. So seeds, if you look at rake tasks, there is a task called rake db seed. And if I expand this so you can read the full description, it will load the seed data from this file called seeds.rb in the database folder. It's just a Ruby file. You have to make it yourself. So I'm going to make a new file called seeds.rb, spelled exactly the way it wants it. In here, when you run rake db seed, all it will do is run the code in here. So if I do like hello, it will run that code. So now the next time someone clones down your project, if they want like some initial test data or initial seed data, you will set it up in here. So someone else can just go rake db seed, populates that database with test data, and you're ready to start testing stuff. And this is where I'm going to use Faker. Faker. Do I have it in my gem file? No. So I'm going to add Faker to my gems. Do a bundle to install it. I now have Faker, which means in my seed file, I can start making test data for all of my database stuff, so all the tables, using fake data very quickly. So if I wanted to make a new candy, so like candy.new, candy took in what? I forgot. Name, quantity. I'm not going to make the candy first because it needs the candy bag ID. So candy will be later. I will make candy bags. Candy bag.new. And candy bags needed what? Size and color. So a number and a string, right? We saw that syntax was kind of like this, like size, and then the size is going to be some number. So if you want to pick a random number and create lots of random data, how would you do that? Rand.
Then do a range.
Rand or range, right? Any other ideas? No? You can do anything you want. So rand range will work. So like rand range. I'm going to do this so you can see this method. 1, 2, 3. Dot sample. Who has seen dot sample? Yes. Dot sample will just pick from this limited set of things I picked. So if I only want like those 3 numbers, I can do that. And then I also need color. You could do the same thing, like type an array of colors, or you can use Faker. Who has seen the Faker website now? The actual, like, not this one.
We did that with sample for one of the discussion questions, I think, where it was like the quotes and you just did like quotes.sample.
Yep.
Just spit out different quotes.
Yeah, and that will work. And you can like write your own. But if you don't want to write your own, you can use Faker, which has a lot of fake data. It will randomly generate fake data for you. And you'll notice that it does have one for Keller. It's like Faker Keller. You can grab Keller in any number of formats. So if I do Keller name, because I kind of want it to be a string, so array console. Every time I run this, I'm going to get a different Keller. Yes. So now I can just be like, oh, fake Keller. And if I want to make like 10 candy bags, I don't have to do this anymore, right? I don't have to like write my own stuff. I can now just be like 10.times do, and it will make 10 candy bags with random data in there, right? Because it's just Ruby code, it just runs it for you. Now you have 10 random candy bags. Now if I wanted to make new candy, which uses candy bag, right? So I'm gonna close this for a second. Question?
Is it just conventional that the name is called seeds.rb? Just anything, it just runs the code.
Yeah. Rake specifically, Rake's DB seed will look for the file with that name. Because everyone knows it's
So
called
it's a
seed.
rule for
It's a rule for a rake, active record, but everyone usually calls it seeds. Your seed file. Candy needed what? I forgot already. Candy needed name and quantity and the ID. So if I need a name, right? Maybe I want to look for random candy name. Do you think it's in here?
what is under Chuck Norris?
All right, we'll use Chuck Norris. So this will be the name of our fake candy. Oh, it's a fact? That's way too long. But there should be something else. There's also a cat.
So can.
Can't read. Oh wow. Could have been using this the whole time.
We could have been using this the whole time. This is actually why when we get to Faker, we're like, ooh, why were you making me write all this?
Yeah, I don't even know many breeds of cats.
Can you contribute to categories and
Yeah. You can contribute to this.
CC comments.
What do you want to use for candy names? Since it doesn't look like it has candy in here. Dessert? All right, so we'll use dessert. We can pick a variety, topping, or flavor. Topping. So our names will be random toppings. Our quantity will be, we can either do this again. We can do the rand or range. I wonder if it has random numbers. ID number. It does have a number. So you don't have to memorize how to do random for numbers. And I can do a random, I don't know, just a random number. Produce the number of the specified digits, but the leading digits is never 0. Interesting. I'm gonna try this. Not gonna make it 10. How large is our quantity? How many? 2? All right. And then the last part was the candy bag ID, right? So candy bag ID. How will we get a random ID for this? Yeah, like this actually has an ID, right? If we want to just get a random ID from all of our candy bags, how could we do that?
Can they just do candy bag all ID and then random? No, that's crazy.
Close.
Sample? Yeah.
The idea, yeah, like something with like sample off of all your candy bags, right? So if you go, okay, I have all my candy bags. I'm going to pick a random one. Now that I have an instance of a random candy bag, all I want is its ID. And now I can just be like, oh, it's just this candy bag. And then I can do this 100 times or whatever. Times 2. and make tons of these and associate them with all these candy bags. I'm not going to populate the costume table since we're not using that yet. But if I do run this now with rake db seed, assuming I didn't make a typo or something, this should work. And it will look like it finished, but I did make some sort of typo or something. Undefined method ID for nil class inside of line.
You can run like the ID editing. You can chain it, or would you create instead of new for it to generate the ID?
Yes, nice catch. I'm doing new, so it has no IDs. So you have to create these, and you have to create these. Otherwise, it is just a fairly useless piece of seed data. Yes.
So that was the whole point of using active records.
So like you'll see it ran. If you want to make sure that like you knew exactly what ran, I generally will put something like start creating candy bags, finished creating candy bags, start creating candy,
Can you troll people and just write up a long ass
finished
message at the
creating candy. Yeah, you could do that and troll people, but don't. Please don't. Don't be like copy paste like this thing up here so that it like prints out no method error like this and be like puts like this, right? And be like, oh, you screwed up somewhere. And go puts, right? It's like, I don't know why you thought of that, but now if you run this, you'll be like, cool, it ran everything. All of a sudden, no method error. Please don't do that. But it should tell you, like I do this so I know like which sets of test data I've made, just in case like something broke. It'll be easier to track down. And now if I look at this database, and I now know to use this refresh button, you'll see everything's in there. And you're like, oh, cool, all of it's like created and associated, right? With random data. And now I can actually test this, like rake console. And now I can go, okay, I can look at all my candy. Nice. I can look at all my candy bags.
Bacon.
Bacon's a candy. It's all good. And now we had associations, right? Like if I wanted to ever look for, so we have a one-to-many, right? If I have, so let's look at candy.all. It has the candy bag ID here. If I ever wanted to go, okay, which candies are inside my candy bag, I would have to go, how would I write that? Like, which candies are inside this candy bag? So if I have candy bag dot first, so I have this candy bag with ID 1. I want to find which candies are in it. How did I look this up?
You go to candy, and then with all the ID of candy bag of ID 1.
Yes, right? Everyone followed that, right? Where you go, okay, I'm going back to our code challenge, and you're like, okay, I have a candy bag. I want to find out what candy is inside this candy bag. So what candies? The way you find it is going, okay, the candy class, they have the actual candy bag ID in it. So I need to search through all of them, select the ones that actually have that ID in there. So I will look at every candy, pick out the candy whose candy bag ID equals what? 1, right? Or in this case, if I make it for every instance, an instance method, it would be like self.id, right? It's like, okay, let's look at my ID. Who has my ID? And if I now like run this, oops. Okay. If I now run this and I go, okay, I have a candy bag at first. So I have some candy bag. I will look at its candies. I can find its candies. And this is what we were doing way back, right? Granola is inside your candy bag. And if I looked at like, right? And if I looked at the last one, I can see the ones in the last candy bag. And this is a method you've already written before. It's just a little bit different, but because it's using IDs instead of like the instance, right? And if I wanted to do something like, okay, let's get out the candy names from my candy bag, how would I do that? I want to look at my candies and just get the list of names instead of the actual like entire instance.
Iterate through your candies.
Yeah, you would iterate through all your candies. So look at all of them. Take out the ones that are yours, right? So you iterate, iterate all it. Pick out yours. And then change it, right? Just pull out the names, like pull out the names. To pull out the names, like you would use what method? A map, right? So you would map. And iterating, we'd use select, right? Which we've already done here. So we have this helper method. So we could just be like, okay, let's look at our candies. Let's map it out. Do candy. The thing we want mapped out is, yeah, candy.name, right?
Do you have to put self.candies.map there, or do you just do candies.map?
Oh, you can. Like, you could do this. Self is just more explicit, and I tend to be more explicit.
Yesterday, these files where class was inheriting from active record base had nothing in it, or you just adding these to get more functionality?
Yep, I'm adding this to get more functionality, because now I don't need to like write .all myself. I don't need to write my getters and setters. It's already, a lot of this is already provided, but for extra functionality, I can add my own methods now and just do the harder parts and be like, cool, now I can look at my candies. I can also get my candy names, right? Some of these are duplicated, so maybe I also want to get these unique ones. Don't do something ugly like this, but I'm doing it now for speed's sake. And if I look at my candy names, I can get my list of candy names in my bag.
Granola sauce.
Right? Granola, yes. And you're just, all you do now with Active Record is write more complicated stuff, custom methods.
If we didn't want chest first or last, we had to have an instance inside of here.
If you didn't want, oh yeah, if you didn't want to do this, you could just be like, oh, candy bag dot first, so C1 equals this one, C1 dot candy names.
But if you wanted like the third or something, you just look up that instance.
Yep, you would look up the instance of can't. Do they have a third? Yes! Hell yes! That's crazy. Wait. Oh my god. How far does this go?
100? Do like 100?
Ah. Wait. Where does this stop? 8?
Yeah.
Wait.
I think it's called mine. That's right.
Whoops.
No, I'm not sure at all. Right?
It goes up to 5th. But that's pretty good, right? Like, they're like, we're giving you these for free, so you don't have to think about it. But if you didn't know how to, if you want to go higher than that, you could just be like, all, and then get like the 11th one or something, right?
Okay, that works.
And this works too, because it's just an array. So now you can like focus on this and write the complicated stuff. Is this like starting to make sense why we were like practicing all this? Like, oh, let's reach into candy. Let's pull out this stuff. Good? Good?
So, very specific, like you wanna look up your candies, and then we were thinking of candy
Well,
names.
the user never writes this, right? You write the code. You just expose how your app works to the user. So if you're saying your app will let people be able to keep track of their candies in a candy bag and then see a list of their names, this is what you have to write. But if you're saying, oh, I need to be able to also count them up, then maybe you go, okay, I need to write a new method for number of candies, and you would have to write your own method for it. So they can do that.
But as the user, let's say that wasn't written, would I know that that wasn't a possibility, or like,
Well, the user isn't looking at this code. The way they interact with your program, which is what we do in the third week, is very different. This is your code. Their interaction is through something like a website interface. And whatever's on the website is all they know that exists. They don't know what else you've written or how you've written it. You don't know if, like, maybe this always returns 10 and that you're just lying to them.
So we're like writing this stuff based on deliverables that are assignments.
Yep. Or maybe if you're like writing your own website, you're making your own deliverables. So now, if you get this, I'm going to make you hate all of like week 1 by doing something to get rid of this part. So I said, so what did I say with like was the relationship? How did I describe candy and candy bag? One to many, right? And what were the 2 sentences I used?
A candy bag has many candies.
Yeah, something, so belongs to and has many, so candy bag has many candies, right? And what was the other one? Belong to candy bag, right? So if I do something like this, where a candy, so candy bag, so I'm inside candy bag, it has many candies. And then I open up candy and go, hey, a candy belongs to a candy bag. And then I go, okay, cool, I've written that. Let's get rid of this for a second. And I rerun this. I should have
Yeah, I feel
this method still.
This is more of a troll thing than like what I see.
That's why the naming conventions are.
Yep, this is why I'm naming these in a very specific way, because now I go, I just replace this entire method here for selecting out my candies across tables with this one line that describes this relationship.
Cool.
And so long as you put this line here, right, the has many part, and then the belongs to in the corresponding belongs to model, it will automatically create those methods and link it up.
And that's part of active record too, right?
Yep, this is from active record.
From now to like mod 5, are we gonna touch SQL again, or like is that?
You're like, why did you just make me do all these labs?
Just curious. I mean, I know we're gonna use it at certain points in our careers and everything else, but like, was that just like, hey, listen, this is like the foundation for all this stuff, and like.
This is the foundation. I don't think we touch it. Did you ever use it after this? There's your answer.
I mean, no, but it depends on what you want out of it. If you have a lot of data and you want to do something cool with databases, you definitely need to do it. But if you don't, I'm not going to say who did and who did not, but you don't necessarily have to look back at SQL. But it's good to know because you know what the possibilities are. And like if you have a lot of models and relationships and you want to do something that's like more interesting than like a has many, you know, you can make that happen with SQL, but short answer is no.
Yeah, the short answer is no, right? So there's your answer.
Can you go back to Candyland?
Candy bag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you lived in a really weird neighborhood, could you also then
after doing some migration, be like has many toothbrushes, has many fruits, has many
Yep.
glosses.
And so long as you set up your database correctly, where we have
All of those have a candy bag ID.
the IDs in the right place, and you write it with the has many and belongs to in the right place, it will link them all up.
Does the seed need to have that ID section?
The seed. Oh, this part?
Yeah.
It still needs to link this up. I'll show you how you can shorten this though. There's another way to shorten this.
And you just got rid of that one method that was telling you which key was like you would still have to have done that other method where you go back to
This one, right? Yeah, you still have to write this one because it's like, this is the more complicated stuff. Now you're just like, oh, now everything's connected, so I don't have to write the connecting methods.
So the boilerplate like helper method can be just
Yeah, all of those helper methods you were writing are pretty much gone.
It's like the matter reader or accessor that kind of writes the code for you.
they wrote the macro. That's a macro. Right?
Yeah, this is just a macro. I actually no, I think this actually might be a no, this is a macro. This is a macro.
It's the same format as the
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh my god.
So it's how about how many to many?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do next. I do want to show you like some interesting stuff though with this. So it has many, right? If you have, if you want to create a new one, so if I want to sneeze but I can't. Candy bag dot first. Oh my god.
Stay in the sun. Stay in the shade over there.
So like I have all these candies in this candy bag. If you want to add a new one, right? If you want to add a new candy to the candy bag, you would have to do something like this, right? And be like, okay, let's create a candy, just do the ID correctly, right? And this will work, right? I will be able to go create a new candy for this ID. And now if I look at all the candies, it will be down there. But if you go, let's say I just want to make a new candy and just throw it in there. So let's see. So candy.new. I don't know what this ID is yet. Pretty sure this is gonna work. So I create a new candy. It's not linked up to anything. So whoops. I don't want to run this. I want to save that previous one. I don't want to like a stranded candy. C candy 5 equals this. If I look at C1, I has the candies. I could just, it's an array, right? I could just throw this in there. And now it should be like on the bottom. It should like automatically link it up. So if I look at C5 now, I'm pretty sure it's gonna link it up. And it will automatically assign that ID for you. Because it's just like thinking you're playing with Ruby, you're just shoveling into the new array. So it's like, it's associated. Let me associate it for you. And it will do that. So there are a lot of weird shortcuts like this in Active Record.
So that's like using create.
Yeah, so like the exact steps I did was, okay, I have a candy bag. So maybe the first one, CV, the first one. I created a candy, but I didn't know which bag it was in yet. So I don't have this. I don't have the ID. I don't know which bag it's in. And I go, okay, I have a new candy. I don't know what bag it is. Now let me figure out the bag, look at its candies, and just shovel in the candy, and it will do it for you. So you don't have to like assign the ID. Fun, right? So this will work. There are other shortcuts to this, and we'll like maybe have, I'm not sure if we'll have time before lunch to get to all of them, but there are other shortcuts. So any questions before we do many-to-many? If not, take like a 4-minute break, come back at like 45, and then we'll do many-to-many. Since we don't need everyone to decide our domain model, while people are filtering back, how can I turn this to a many-to-many? Like I need a many-to-many to do. Users and costumes. Users and costumes. Or treaters. So we have treaters and costumes. This is going to be our many-to-many, right? And when we say we built a many-to-many, what did we need as an extra table? A join table, right? A join table. So we're going to build a treater's costume, many-to-many, and the join table will be called what? Yeah, treater's costumes. Something like this. And this will be our join table. So this is what we'll build out. If we need to build out this, we need to make 2 more tables, right? We need to make a treater's table and a treater's costume table, which means we need to make 2 more models. So I'm going to make a model for treaters. Treater.rb. No S, right? The S is for the table. This is our class. So class treater. It inherits from active record base because we want all that good stuff. And then we're pretty much done for now. We're going to make one, and then we'll make the associations later. We will then make a migration. So rake db create migration. Name equals create treaters. I'm assuming that's the pluralization. Hopefully I'm right. In this change, I need to make the table. And I'm going to be lazy and copy paste this. And go, okay. Treaters. It's going to have a name for now. Let's just make it short. The treaters have a name, and that's it. Now if I do a rake db migrate, because you make the model, make your migration, then you migrate. It looks good. Then I check my schema to make sure I have treaters in here. Nice. It looks good. I would test this at this point by making some test data. So maybe if I add more to my seed file, like 10.times do, and I'll make a bunch of treaters. So treater.create with some sort of name. I think this syntax works. Name. And I need a fake name. So I'm going to go to faker and go look for a name. Name. And what kind of name do you want to use? Tishon John Sr. I like this. So some sort of name. I'll make a bunch of treaters with names. I will rake db seed this thing. The problem with this seed is I'm actually like doing this over and over. So I'm making so much candy. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Did not error. Wait, screw this. Hold on. No. Now I can test. Commenting that out. I can look at my treater.all, make sure it's in there. It's good. So treaters is good. I can then make the new table. So new file. It was called like, what was it? Treater costumes? Treater.
Random prefixes like miss and miss.
Yeah, I don't know. I will call it treater costume because I have no good name for this join table. It will be class treater costume, singular, right? It also inherits from active record base. Should be good now. I need to then create my migration. So exit this. Create treater costumes? Is it treater's costume? I don't know. You know what? Rake console treater costume dot plural Lies. All right. Looks good. That means I had this right. I'll make that migration. Inside treater costumes, I need to make that table again. So I will make this table. Right? Whoops, what did I do? Oh my god, what did I do this? Paste it there. I don't know why I create something called passengers. Treater costumes is the table I'm making. Inside of that, I need at least 2 columns, right? Because this is a join table. And what 2 columns does that join table need? Yeah, the 2 IDs. So those are going to be integers, right? Because they're IDs. Integer. What was the name of the two tables? Yeah, so like treater, ID, and costume ID. Because these are the 2 tables I'm joining. So I need the 2 instances of this thing in this table. Just in SQL, they're just going to be IDs. And these are going to be called like foreign keys. When you have an ID of another, the primary key of another table in yours, like this, like treater IDs in your table, this is a foreign key to that table. So this is a foreign key. And this one's a foreign key too. This looks good. If I run rake db migrate, looks fine. If I check my schema now, so where is my schema? Nowhere. If I look at my schema, it made it for me. So it looks good. Now I can create test data. So seeds. I have a bunch of treaters. I don't have any costumes, so 10 times do costume.create. Costumes had, what did it have? Forgot. Oh, okay, name size. So instead of doing this hash, you can actually do this with symbols. So it cuts down on like keystrokes. So it has name. And the name I will use for this costume. There's no costume. Creatures? Creature animal? Antelope. That's all it has? Alright. First, time's sake, I'll do this. Size is going to be some number. Again. So I'm going to do this. Right? I can now make a bunch of costumes. And then if I want to associate them, I have to do something like this again, right? So I can go, okay, let's n.times do, what is it, treater costume.create, and it took in what 2 IDs? Treater ID is, what is it, treater.all.sample.id, right? And then it'd be like costume ID, and it'd be costume.all.sample.id. And if we now run this, so rake db seed, we'll set it, faker creature. It's a real error this time. Uninitialized constant faker creature. Wait. The documentation. Oh, maybe it's a newer version of faker.
It might be.
Oh yeah, it's like made 8 days ago. All right, I'm not using that one because clearly I don't have that version.
Like monsters, maybe.
Monsters?
Michael Scott.
Sweet.
Oh.
This is pretty old.
Overwatch.
He's just gonna make a couple.
This one is now going to be this.
I'm done.
Bam, done. I can now go into rake console. and look at all my treaters. I can look at all my costumes. I can then look at my treater costume. Cool, a bunch associated. But right now I can't actually do that crazy trick of like dot, like what is it? Costume.treater.treater. I can't do this yet, right? There's nothing like set up. All right, so it got real dark. Why is this so dark? So like treater, the normal way we did this, right? If like a treater wanted to look up its costumes, right? It would have to go through what? Yeah, the join table. So it'd be like treater costume.all.select do treater costume. I'm too lazy to type it out. This dot which ID? Yeah, like the treater ID, right? Equals self.id. This is all of your treater costumes, right? You can then go treater costumes. From here, you would want to what? Map, right? But do you want to map yet? If I map, what do I have access to inside a treater costume? Just the ID, right? So like you actually need to go select again, right? To treater costume. Well, you would map, you would get the ID. Oh geez, that's annoying. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that might actually work. Let's try to map this and see what it gives us. Because normally we would map after this, right? And then we would get the costume out of this. But I'm not sure if we actually have access to it. I do know we have the costume ID. So if I look at treater.first.costumes, I'll get nothing. Wait. Treater costume.all. Who has one? The fourth one. The fourth. Yes! So you can look it up. I don't have enough test data. But like, just in case, if you're like getting nothing back, you're like, wait, does this actually work? Do that and test it. If you set this up, I don't know if this works because I don't have that relation set up yet. So treater costume.fourth, yeah, it won't work. All I have is the ID right now, right? And you would probably have to like map it over again or select it and like combine that data to pull it out. Very annoying. So while we could build this out, make helper methods to do this, we did do something interesting with the belongs to and has many, right? So a treater, what is the relationship it has? Yeah, it has many treater costumes, right? It has many of these. Meanwhile, a treater costume, what? Belongs to treater. Belongs to treater. And then the costume on the other side, it also has many what? Yeah, treater costumes. Meanwhile, this has another belongs to, right? So it's like belongs to costume. So like notice like the singular part. It should read like English, correct English grammar. Meanwhile, this part is plural. If I do that, I will try to run this. I'll try to do this. Doesn't work, right? But at least, because I have that has many belongs to, if I use our custom method and pull out the costume, I can at least get the costume now, right? Because like it was set up. That one-to-many part, we did that already in the last one. It's set up. But that's not cool enough, right? We don't really want to write this. We want to just go from here, like treater. It has many costumes, right? So how do you think I like would change this to have many costumes? Yeah. I said this has many costumes, right? Through what? Treater through, I think treater costume? Treater costume or costumes? I forgot. Through treater costume. I think I have like one too many semicolons too.
I think that's right. It always looks crazy.
Yeah, it always looks crazy. And if I do this, so close.
You need an S.
You need to-
Oh, jeez. Because it's supposed to read like English, and I suck at English. Now if I do this, it will work.
Yes.
And you're just like, what? Why did I have to do this in like week 1? Where I had to like go through this? Because now I can like map this through. Right now though, if I have costume, so this is costume 2, dot second, dot treaters. That's not set up though. So if you want the reverse, you need to write the reverse part of this, which is this has many treaters through treater costumes. You write the other side of that relationship and tell it what to go through. And now if I actually try this, you will get that method for free. And this is why we were like practicing this part, so we understood how it like maps through. Costumes, that's seconds, that treaters, dot. Right, because this is just an instance of it. It's actually in an array too. Wait, why is it? Oh yeah, the name is actually the name of like what this returned. It's a treater thing. It's like a treater class. If you go treater.first.name, you can look at the first treater's name. And now suddenly you don't have to write any of those helper methods to like link things up. Instead, what you're going to focus on are more complex methods, like the how to count them, how to average things, stuff like, where is it? Stuff like this. Interesting? Yeah, right? This is what active record's giving you. As long as you understand how to write that schema and describe it in like the right English, suddenly you get all those methods for free. And you can focus more on the hard parts. Other interesting stuff, just like right before lunch. If I wanted to, so let's say I have C1 equals costume dot first. So I have the first all right, whatever. Treater T1 equals treater dot first, right? T1 dot costumes. He has none right now. If you want to make one, in the seed file I was doing this, right? You could always just go treater costume dot create, and instead of saying ID, you could just be like the treater is T1, the costume is C1, and you'll make it and make that association. You don't have to say it's the ID. It knows to look for it. Or if you're super lazy and say you had costume 2, right? And you have treater 1, and he wants more costumes. Wait, what? Treater 1. Treater.costume.create. That's interesting. Why do you not get anything back? think I linked it up, right? Why? Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's there. Why did it not update? That's weird. Oh well. If you have, this is lunchtime. I want to finish quickly. If you have all the costumes and you don't want to just make that association by yourself, you could just say costume.last and shovel it in, right? And now if you look at the associations, it will make that association for you. So you never really have to interact with this table.
There's a costume there.
It will make this link for you, and you're good. Because if you look at treater costume.all, you'll see that it made that association for you. And now you can just play around with them as if they were just arrays that you're putting things into. Cool? There's a lot more shortcuts to this. Like the more you use Active Record, the more crazy stuff you'll realize it does for you. And it's just like, oh, how much stuff you want to read into. Any questions on Active Record? Any questions on associations? Like how to do this like has many belongs to stuff?
Well, we have to do it again.
Like you'll play around with it. The labs force you to practice with it. Once you get comfortable with it, you'll like be able to migrate really quickly, be able to do those associations right away. You'll be able to read up on tasks and what other ones exist. This is just, this part is like the only like interesting thing at this point. Once you're solid on Active Record, adding your own custom methods is the like fun part of Active Record because you're like, I don't have to focus on anything else. I can just do custom stuff. Any other questions on Active Record? No? All right, I'm ending this lecture.